And I think this is a really nice place for us to then link into what is really your biggest asset online, at least anyway, and that's your website. So it's your biggest front-facing asset. It's where everyone, especially if they're starting to do some research on you, is going to go and check out. And the goal of your website is really, it's pretty simple, and that's to keep people on it for as long as possible. And the reason I say is to keep them on it is because the longer they can spend on your website, the more they can learn about you, who you are as a firm or practice, the services you offer, the sorts of clients you work with. So you want to have a website structure and content on that website that's going to encourage them to spend time, reading about it and uncovering that information. Now, a bit of a tip here, if you want to be able to track how people are spending time on your website, I'd really recommend Google Analytics, as that's actually going to show you which pages people are visiting and how much time they're spending on them, and ideally will give you some ideas for what pages you might want to improve, through, you might see that the bounce rate, so when people come on and immediately leave a page, if that's really high, there might be things that you can do to improve it. So the nice thing about Google Analytics, it's provided by Google, it's free, and if you've got someone who runs your website for you, they'll be able to hook it up for you pretty easily. To do it yourself is a little bit more work, but definitely there are video tutorials out there that will show you the steps to take. So what we've got here are a few ideas to help you think about your website, and this might be in the context of you already have one, but does it need a bit of a tune-up, or you might be in a position where you are looking to launch a new website. You might be going through that process right now. So what are some things that you should think about that's going to drive the best uptake by people who come onto your website? So the first pointer is just to reiterate that when it comes especially to your homepage, when a visitor arrives, they're going to make up their mind about the website in about a third of a second. So it's that first visual feeling that they get when they first land on it is actually going to tell them a lot about you as a brand, as a company, as a firm, and is going to give them some insight into it. So making sure you put effort into your homepage is really key. And there's a few, I suppose, hygiene factors to consider here. Now, first is to make sure that you have, that your brand is up to date and looking fresh. And obviously a brand is more than a logo. It's everything from your typeface, your colors, the sorts of imagery you use. But once you do have that look and feel set, then you can repeat it consistently throughout the site. And don't forget that actually that consistency goes through across all your marketing. So it might be other online areas that you control, like your social media. It could be in your email footers. Obviously, then this then goes to your printed assets, whether they're paper or maybe it's your signage on your building. So once you've got your brand sorted, think about having a really clear statement of mission. Now, a mission statement for your firm is a unique thing. It's an individual thing, and that's obviously something that you in your firm will need to really think about. But in simple terms, it's about the goals, the values, the objectives of your organization, and it will help people who visit your site begin to get a feel for what it would be like to work with you. Now, I'm sure you're all familiar with Xero's beautiful accounting software, but the one that I really like is actually a client of ours, and that's Maisie Harris's Peel to the Metal, a fresh new approach to accounting and business development. Now, that's quite a statement, and the idea here is to help position them in the minds of the reader on their site, that, pedal to the metal, they're active, they're aggressive, they're going to get going, and they bring a fresh approach to accounting. So that definitely is, quite different from just saying, hey, we're just, accountants and bookkeepers, or something that maybe 10, 15 years ago was maybe more common. So also think about having really clear and obvious and repeated calls to action on your homepage and across your website. So the nice thing is that you do have a lot of real estate on your website, so you can have multiple types of calls to action. Now, a classic one could be, especially on your homepage, a book and a time for a discovery call or a chat. And that could link through to another page on your website with an online calendar. And then obviously from there, they can go and book in for that 15 or 30-minute conversation. Other calls to action could be that they could sign up to a regular newsletter, or maybe on your product or service pages, they could download a piece of content. So this might be a report or an insight into a particular vertical or niche that you've done. One little trick here is that if you do, maybe in your footer or on your contact page, have an option for them to contact you, make sure that it's not just your email where they basically have to copy and paste that into their own email browser and then sort of write something and send it over. If you can have a contact form, either that launches from your footer or on your contact page, all they need to do is fill in a couple of fields and then send it off, and they can stay on your site while they're doing this, which is obviously good because that's going to help them remain on your site, and maybe they'll go and look at a few other elements that interest them. Now, also on your homepage, but also there are other places for this in your site, is to think about your social proof. So social proof is really important because obviously, it's your firm, it's your website, you're going to say that you're great. But what is really, really powerful is when other people say that you're great. And there's a couple of different ways that this could be. So certifications are a really easy one. If you are certified and you've got those certifications, put them up on your website. And I would even have a little section where you have, the 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 that you have, and you sort of have them as badges. And I would say that's definitely just a hygiene factor. Again, you can think of any awards that you've won. Those are also really relevant. So this might be, Accountant or Bookkeeper of the Year. It might be from Xero or from another provider. Again, that just sort of displays that you were recognized as, excellent, showing excellence in your industry, and were rewarded for it. And if you're a person coming to a website, that for me, I get the feeling of confidence and trust that if I go to you, you're going to provide excellent service. Now, social proof can also extend to other things. So think about your current clients. Ask them if they would be happy for you to have their logo up on your website. If they're happy with that, maybe they'd also be happy to write a short testimonial. Now, this testimonial might only be, a short paragraph. Just saying, look, it was great to work with, XYZ firm. They've made a big difference. Highly recommend them. Or it could be in the form of a case study. So this is a more long form piece of content. And in this one, you'd really talk about, who their business, what the business is, what their problems were, the services that you offered, the solutions that you offered, and how basically it solved this problem and how they flourished as a business. Now, the nice thing with testimonials or case studies is that they can be written, obviously, or you could record them in video format. Now, video, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a minute, is really, really powerful. And I do know from personal experience that sometimes it is easier, either for yourself or for your client, just to say a few words on a video. You might find that more natural than if you had to actually write out a lengthy case study. So the point of what I've just been talking about is that, when someone lands on your homepage, they're thinking, is this a firm I'd like to work with? Could they help me? All the elements that we've just covered are setting you up for a great impression. Your logo and your brand look modern and fresh. Your mission statement, the certifications and awards, the social proof are all front and center. And in that sort of third of a second, 1 or 2 seconds, they're able to form a really positive association with you. And then ideally, you're going to lead them through onto additional pages on your website where you can cover, more in-depth information about your products and services. Now, a few tips in ensuring that your website is also visually appealing. And it's been proven by many design experts that if you just have a website packed with lots of text, it doesn't matter how useful that text is. If it's densely packed together, the key messages that you would want to communicate to the reader will actually be lost. So it's better to divide your pages, especially your key pages. So think homepage, about us, team, the services that you offer. Divide them into sections, and in every section, keep it simple and keep to 1 point per section, and really try and hammer home and convey that point in that one section. So think about what is the key information that you want the user to see. Let them soak it in, let them think about it, and then they can scroll down to the next section and take in another simple bit of information. Now, the idea is that as they scroll through those sections with just a little bit of text, you're able to impart quite a lot of information in bite-sized chunks that they're able to understand and take on board. So the idea here, I suppose, is like the opposite of a blog page. On a blog page, you've got a lot of information and it's rich and dense and nutritious, and you're conveying that and they're going to spend the time to go through it. The idea on your other pages is just to help them get the basic information they need to understand, and I suppose nudge them into making that buying decision. And that buying decision at this point might just be to sign up for that discovery call, or maybe it's even one step below and they just want to download something from your website, like a piece of gated content, or maybe sign up to your newsletter. Now, a good website isn't just about text, it's obviously visuals and graphics. And if you have got your brand sorted, then you'll have a good idea of what the graphics should be, the sort of style of photos you should be using. But don't forget, as I mentioned, to not consider video. So I'm a real fan of video, and just as with text and having it in small bite-sized chunks, small short videos can be a really effective way to get across a lot of information in a short amount of time. And in a study done in the last couple of years, 68% of people said they prefer to learn about a new product or service by watching a short video. So the key thing here is, again, if you can create a short video maybe of 60 seconds or less, that is going to be a super effective way for them to take in that information, especially if they are potentially reading this on their mobile phone screen. Now, the nice thing is you don't have to spend a lot of time or money with videos these days. You've got your smartphone, that's got a great camera, and your webcam will also have good camera as well. Now, if you want to take it up a level, you can always buy a cheap microphone for maybe $100 for sound quality, and you can always add in some lighting as well. And those lights, which you can get from most sort of phone shops and malls, aren't very expensive either. But the point here is that if you go onto LinkedIn now, you'll see a lot of people are doing short selfie style videos, and especially for accountants, I know that they've been really, really effective. So there's no reason not to get involved. As we said before, you can use them for client testimonials. They could be training. It could be even you talking about something that's happened in the marketplace, and it's just you doing a quick 45-second or 1 or 2 minute commentary on a particular topic. Now, the nice thing is that obviously with video, you can share them, not just on your website, but you can put links to them in your email, across your social media channels. You might even have a Vimeo or a YouTube channel where you want to host and collate your videos. Now, these are always great ways to promote your firm and build the brand. And again, it not only adds the element of social proof, if it's maybe a client giving a testimonial, but if it's you or one of your team talking on it, it's going to give your clients or prospective clients a bit of an insight into you, your personality, and what it would be like to work with you more on a one-to-one daily basis.